excited that those people here. If you're watching live stream, please don't hesitate to give us a comment. If you're watching the recording, please give us a like, share, comment, and tell us. HGA Free Webinar Series. Jason Ledlow, I'll be one of your co-hosts today. My partner, Trevor Nelson. And we've got a special guest. I'm going to let Trevor introduce him today. But let me just tell you a couple things, real quick housekeeping. Chat's open, question, Q&A. Please don't hesitate. Stay to the end and win. We're going to give something away today. We do it every week that's going to help you raise more money. HGA Fundraising is our company. We provide the most profitable auction items in fundraising, along with a lot of other things like free coaching, these webinars, podcasts, things like that. So glad y'all could take the time to join us. And Trevor, I'm going to let you take it from here, brother.
Well, I got some really important stuff to talk about first. Hey, Sandy, just real quick. Hello, how are you? Everyone that's coming on, thanks so much. Hey, Sandy, did you already send me your address? Because I got beanies. I have a beanie for you. Sandy's up in a very, very cold part of the nation, and I promised her an HGA beanie, and I have those now, Sandy. So if you've already sent me your address, I have it. But if you haven't, go ahead and resend it to me if you don't mind. Anyone else who's watching that would like an HGA beanie because it's wintertime, let us know. So
he's giving away stuff that we haven't
obviously like really important fundraising / housekeeping stuff that I got to take care of right here. But anyway, it's good to see everybody. Really happy to have Tim on. Tim Monahan is our director of national partnerships. We have the good fortune we've had the good fortune of knowing Tim for a handful of years, and now he's on our team. So really happy. Tim, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you guys.
It's awesome. Tim's got a wealth of fundraising knowledge, and we're not going to get into every little piece of that. What we're going to focus on is this online fundraising masterclass today. And we were just talking about it. I mean, Tim's been doing online fundraising for the last 8 years. He was doing this as a regional director and then in management positions with Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, a very successful conservation organization. And has a tremendous amount of experience with online fundraising. So we're going to go wide lens first, kind of like, why we should consider it, of course, all the intangibles and the upside. We're going to get into why it's become such a popular avenue for fundraising and profitability for nonprofits all across the country. And if you haven't considered it yet, I want to get into as well, Tim, like how easy it is, how easy it can be, right? But yeah, I mean, talk to us about like when you got, maybe I guess it's like when you got started and kind of realized that there's something here, with our online fundraising efforts and did you get, experience success like right off the bat? And let's just get into it, from the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, I think when I started, so as you mentioned, I started as a regional director and with RMEF, and what we were doing is holding large events, banquets, and we were holding a lot of them every year. So my online fundraising piece really started with social media advertising, and whether it be, just trying to get people to an event or selling, raffles, doing drawings, that kind of stuff online to help supplement our in-person engagement. And a big piece of that as a regional director is just, keeping that involvement all the time. Because as everybody who does in-person events knows, you might have one event per year, you might have 12, you might have 15. But one of the keys is just keeping that engagement consistent and staying top of mind. And that was my real first experience with online fundraising, where, we're trying to get people in the door, but then the secondary part of that is staying top of mind and staying engaged with them throughout the entire year. And that's one of the biggest benefits is you can reach people a lot of different ways. You can have a lot of people at, whatever event you may be holding, and you can hold 20 a year, but you're still missing something in the engagement piece where you're not top of mind all the time. Right. You might not be reaching in an online or in an in-person setting. You're reaching the people that are already following you. Well, online you can reach a lot of new people, especially on social with your boosting posts, your advertising, you're being able to pick your target markets, what likes and dislikes they may have, and then align yourself with the people that you're shooting for. And that's one of the biggest advantages that I saw on the online piece, especially social. And then as I progressed in my career with the Elk Foundation, I got into more of a national role, where we were kind of taking what I did as an RD and putting it on steroids, essentially marketing to a national group, a national audience. And then, as we were talking before, post COVID really kicked the online fundraising piece into gear, where we were doing things that we never even thought about doing before that, whether that be online auctions, really extending how we're fundraising on social, and then also via email. So that's kind of be a brief, I guess, history of kind of my online fundraising experience.
Yeah. We're talking
So-
about, go ahead, brother.
I'm gonna ask you a question because you said something I thought was really, really. I think that probably most nonprofits know that they need to be on social media. I think they probably are on social media. But one thing that you talked about, you said going after new people, getting new exposure. We've got an event coming up, but we're going to start advertising, talking about it. We want to get it to new, and then using social media and the tools that they have to really zone in on who makes our best, who would be a donor. Because the general consensus of what people think of, well, I just want everybody. Well, everybody wants to help us. Everybody wants to do that. And it's just not the reality. And I don't care whether you're, whether it's an Elk Foundation or you're sending kids with cancer to camp. It's not, there still are some traits and things that you can zero in on. So would you kind of talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. And to your point, if you have a Facebook group, you have your followers, right? Well, whatever you're doing is reaching those people. You're automatically going to hit them. The goal for us and for me in my online fundraising piece is, I know they're going to see this. I know they're going to follow us. They're already followers, but you have to get the new people. How are you expanding your reach and boosting on social media, or doing paid advertising on Facebook, which is now Instagram and all of the different subsidiaries? But being able to hone in on that. And if you have a Facebook group, if you have an online, page, it's really easy to do. And I would say it's extremely valuable, because whether you have 500 or 5,000 followers, you can expand that reach tenfold through boosting on Facebook. So the boosting piece, what you really do is it's really easy to do. You don't have to have a business account or anything like that. But what you do is you go in on your Facebook piece, and you create a post, and you boost it. And being able to boost it on Facebook, first of all, it's amazing and a little bit scary on what Facebook knows about everybody. But you can go in this boosting experience, and you set this thing up for however you want. So you set it up. First of all, you would determine how much you want to spend, how much your ad spend you want to put into this, and then for how long. So let's say, for instance, you want to boost it for $1,000 and you want to do it over a three-week period. Facebook will take your total and split it out per day. And they'll even give you estimates on, how many people is this going to hit? How many impressions are you going to get? And then from there, you go in and you hone in exactly who you want to reach. So you know who your general audience is, what their interests are. They're probably going to be similar to yours, being that you're either managing this group, part of this group, whatever it may be, and you can hone in on interest of people. So for me, with my history with the Elk Foundation, so we're a conservation and hunting organization, I would focus on demographics and things that people within that group would also like. So are they following, Cabela's on Facebook? Are they interested in, hunting, deer hunting, elk hunting? What other things are they interested in? They're interested in rodeo.
Things that are synonymous. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So things that your people are generally interested in, you can target them down to, who else are they following? What are they engaging in? You can even get into, if you really want to, you can get into estimated annual income. You can get into political beliefs. Like, you can get into all these different things on Facebook to make sure that you're just not casting this super wide net, and half the people that you're hitting aren't interested.
Don't care.
Um,
Yeah.
like the best piece is the value that you're getting out of it, and to create that value, you know, for what you're doing, you want to make sure you're hitting the right people,
Yeah.
and you can do
Okay,
all of
so
that.
and I think that's really important because something now I am going to ask a qualifying question because you said well for $1,000 you could do this, but with Facebook, especially when you put a geographical fence around it, and you say because most of our fundraising is really community based, so
Mhm.
you really can kind of close that down, and it doesn't cost near as much as that necessarily, right, Tim?
For
That's a
sure.
win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could do, and I would say $1,000 is a large amount,
Mhm.
especially for a local
Yeah,
community, local
yeah.
group. You
So
Yeah.
could do 250.
50 to 100.
Yeah, you can do 50. Whatever you want
Yeah,
to do, or you could boost for $50 and you could do it for 10 days and you're going to hit a daily amount, and it's going to increase your
yeah.
engagement for
I
sure.
just I think that your point, the way that you can specialize that to who's going to see it and get it boosted that way is really really powerful because that's one thing. This isn't. Oh, I've got a question because we talked about this on a previous conversation we had where you could literally take your mailing list that you have, you could run it through a filter, and then it would give you another mailing list of people that that's similar to it. In other words,
Right.
same,
Mm.
areas, zip codes, socioeconomics, all those kind of things. It learn it because the amount of information that they
Yeah.
have
The
on
data's
us
out
is
there.
Yeah.
astounding.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you might as well use it. Now, me, I personally want to put a tinfoil hat on. Don't want anybody to know anything I'm doing, and I want to just, run for the hills. But it's just not reality. It's here.
Yeah.
We all walk around with a tracking device on us, and we give them all this information on a minute by minute basis. But, as fundraisers, we might as well use it. So, as you're going through that, tell us how some of the impact that you saw, Tim, with doing this around your event and how that was able to increase that reach.
Yeah, I mean, it would increase reach substantially. And to your point, what you're kind of trying to do is, who your list is, who your people are. The goal is to reach new people that are like the people that are already
Hmm.
donating, that are already
Right.
Yeah.
attending, that are already,
Yeah.
whatever
Birds
they're
of a feather type
doing.
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can, there's many different options out there. For whenever I was with RMEF and I was leading the membership department, to your point, we would take a list, and then we would have a provider create a lookalike list for us. So it's, this person is engaged with us, these are their online tendencies, these are their Facebook tendencies, these are, their demographics and where they live and what they're interested in. And then they'll create a lookalike list of that to give you other like folks that are not following you yet. But that the tendencies are all there, that the demographics are there, and the similarities are there, where the chances of them engaging with you, donating to you, attending your event is exponentially higher than just throwing something out there to everyone.
Hmm.
Where your response rates might go from 0.1% to 25%. I mean, you're talking hundreds or thousands of percentage points in increase of engagement by targeting who you're sending this to and who's seeing it.
Wow.
It's being deliberate about it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, you just said something about just going around, a particular community and then around a particular time period, an event, that, you want to be, adding attention to it and what have you, and attendance. But talk about how important it is to just not just focus your online efforts, whether you're, boosting, things on Facebook, standing up an online auction in the middle of the summertime, whatever it might be, emailing your donor database and then prospective donors and things like that you come into contact with or that have shown interest in your organization. Tim, talk about, like, go out a little further than just the event itself. Talk about how important it is to have these things, have a series of efforts year round, and how,
Right.
this online fundraising can open up a year round effort, obviously for the,
Yeah,
for
and
the
that's
good.
and that's a huge piece of it, because
Yeah.
one, we want to engage our folks, right, and
Yeah.
we want to keep them engaged. And it's not reasonable to say we're going to hold an event that's in person, that's engaging our folks every week.
Totally.
every 2 weeks, every month even. It's a lot of manpower. It's a lot of effort. But with online, you can maximize your benefit, maximize your engagement by taking that effort down a notch, right? So whether it be just engaging with posts, you don't have to be selling something, you don't have to be asking for a donation, but just engaging with your followers and then people who are like your followers year round is huge, because it stays top of mind. If you're a membership organization, you're trying to get new members, you want that consistent, that consistent top of mind with your folks and then other folks. But then just for fundraising, like we were talking about earlier, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, however many in-person events you have where you're engaging. Well, online fundraising enables you to engage and fundraise year round with little effort via, whether it be raffles, drawings, online auctions. You're staying top of mind with folks, and you're being able to fundraise for your mission or your cause 365 days a year. And by utilizing the boosting of a Facebook post, by utilizing an online auction, and by utilizing email, whatever other tools you may have, you want to build a consistent and planned effort year round. So you don't just want to go at it willy-nilly, right? You want to build out an online schedule. You want to build out, maybe it's a social media schedule. You want to determine, with your membership group or your followers, what are their tendencies for online auctions. You don't want to do an online auction every week, because that might be a little bit too much. But what is that sweet spot that you find where you can be diverse in the way that you're fundraising online, and doing it according to a plan?
Having a plan. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think that's, with everything, you've got to have some kind of a plan that you could follow, because because your consistency will be just fall apart.
Right.
Which, let me ask you this, because that's one of the things, this is something that I know in my career, we've struggled with as a company. And I think we've got it down now. I think we finally figured it out, but is the whole thing with consistency and with these online efforts, and how that you just have to, it's like, well, I tried this and it just didn't work. Well, I tried this and it didn't work. I tried this and it didn't work. But, they only try, what does that mean? Well, I made 2 posts and nothing happened, so I quit.
Right.
And I remember when we started this webinar, 5 years ago, coming up on 5 years, when we started doing this, the one thing we said, we were just going to do it. We were going to be consistent and do it over and over and over again. And we've had people come in, they say, oh yeah, I'm going to start a webinar on this. And they do it for 3 weeks and they quit.
Yeah.
And now consistency is hard, but talk to us about that part, Tim, consistency and how important it is when you're doing these online efforts.
Yeah. And I think a statistic that is a rough statistic that I can bring into this, just for an example, and it has to do with, the boosting on social. So the statistic essentially is somebody needs to see something on social 7 to 10 times before they actually engage with it.
Yep.
So before you actually get a click on your, if you're selling a raffle, doing a raffle, whatever, or you're advertising an online auction online, it doesn't just go out, and then generally they're not engaging the first time. They're seeing something 7 to 10 times before they actually get engaged with, and that pertains directly to the social media advertising side. But you can take that and extrapolate it, and you could almost say the same thing about what you mentioned, Jason, where the consistency across the board. You're hitting people in different times of the year, right? Different points of their life. You might hit them once, and they're, they don't have the extra income because their kid just started school and they just spent a ton on school. So you have to time these things, but also understand that you're not going to get everybody the first time. So that's where the consistency comes in, where you might have a follower, a member, somebody that's interested in your mission, see your online auction advertisement 4 times. Well, those 4 times landed in just bad spots for them. But the 5th
Mhm.
time, now they have some extra revenue, they have some extra income, something on there that might catch their eye that didn't catch
Yeah.
their eye the previous 4 times, and now they're interested. So you want to build a plan, you want to build an annual calendar, and then you want to stick with that and not be discouraged whenever your first 3 posts don't get the engagement you want. Not be discouraged when the online auction the first online auction you do doesn't get the bids that you want, or the raffle doesn't raise as much money as you thought it could. You want to be consistent. That consistent time under pressure is huge whenever it comes to the online piece, because let's face it, we live in a time where people's attention spans are next to nothing, right? Especially online. They're scrolling,
Yeah.
they're scrolling, and then you just have to be that one that gets them to stop scrolling.
Yeah.
And it takes time.
Because there's so much coming at them. It takes a very, very specialized effort to, okay, got their attention. Now I'm holding on to them. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like,
Right.
it's just the way our world is spinning right now. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. And doing
Yeah.
things interesting, doing things that interest I mean, if you're doing something on social, if you're, you all know what works for your members and your followers, do that.
Mhm.
Talk to them, ask them, what do you want to see?
Mhm.
Don't just, give them what they want. One thing I say a lot is, we can do what we think they want, all we want, but let's do exactly what they want by asking them, right?
Right.
And reaching out and engaging with them to figure out what works. And then also testing stuff. Don't be afraid to try different things to figure out what works, because whenever you first get into this, you're not just going to strike gold on the first post. You're not going to strike gold on the first live auction. Try different things, and over time, you're going to find out what really works.
Yeah.
But it takes that consistency over time to figure that out.
I've been great points. I've been so passionate about just the idea of fundraising online, seeing you all do it, over the years. Y'all have done it really, y'all did it really successfully. And I'm sure, I mean, obviously RMEF will continue to do it very, very successfully. We talked about, a time that we don't want to go back to in our minds or what have you, but COVID ushering in the necessity to raise money online.
Right.
And then that's just, what people are used to doing. They're used to, I mean, I'm drawing parallels between shopping and giving, for instance, but that's just
Right.
really our world, right? So why blur the lines too much there? But just, you said testing too, and I just don't think that that can be overlooked because, another thing with online efforts, the investment is quite minimal. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And even if you're running a really small shop and you have a board or a committee or all the above, that are there to help you or your staff, someone knows someone that can connect the dots that you don't understand with Facebook. Or you know what I mean? Or just like, or most every organization is using some form of software platform, right? For their
Right.
in-person event, for all sorts of, data capture, peer-to-peer stuff, the whole nine. It just talk about how easy it is, or just like the low barrier to entry, and therein lies the low cost to stand something like this up, where you're just like, I'm raising money online with an online auction now because
Right.
I need to raise money now, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
The efficiency is huge.
Yeah, totally.
Like you think about holding an in-person event, the time that it takes to plan it, the costs that come with catering and venue and tables and chairs and linens, and the list goes on. And I would even, to your comment of the low barrier of entry, I would say there's no barrier to
I was careful not to say
right?
it. I'll let you do
Like
that.
there is no barrier.
Yeah,
Anybody can do it at any time, and you're totally in control. And that's what I love about the online piece is,
Yeah.
you can't make people do things, but you're in 100% control of what they're seeing and how they're seeing it, and what that appearance is to them. And you mentioned it on live auctions. Well, I'll go back, I guess. The social media piece you can do right now.
Yeah.
You have a Facebook account. You can create a Facebook account. It's totally free. And you can even start doing this and building consistency without even throwing money at it. So that can be, something that you're doing and learning that world without any cost. And then once you feel comfortable, you can start boosting. You can start small, go bigger over time. start to learn what Facebook does and what the algorithms and all the different things that go into that. But with the live auction, that's a great way to engage with folks. And you mentioned it, Trevor. There's countless software systems that you can get engaged with and be involved with to host your online auctions. And the online auction piece, you're taking, yeah, there's going to be some expense there, but generally there's not expense, if depending on how you're doing it, the expense is based on the sales, right? So you're going to sell something, then you're going to ship it, you're going to purchase it, whatever you do. But even the cost there is minuscule compared to holding an in-person live auction. And you're also an in-person live auction, you're not reaching near the amount of people that you are online, where you can advertise that on social, you can advertise it in email, you can advertise it in word of mouth, and you don't have to get people to show up. They can do it from their couch, they can do it from their phone, they can do it at any time they want. And with live auctions, once you determine what your ideal email list or how many people you want to engage in that live auction, because there's a point where, with or not live auctions, but online auctions, you don't want to, sometimes you don't want 90,000 people getting involved in one online auction, right? There's a point of diminishing returns where you can find out how many people you want to target for X online auction, where that, because if you have 20,000 people on a list, well, now you're scaring a lot of people away once you start getting bids. So you want to keep that list at the right point, and this just takes consistency and time working on it to understand, how many folks you want your online auction to get to in order to get the bids you want, that you're not hitting that diminishing return side. But the barriers are so low whenever comparing to an in-person event. And again, it's not, I would stress that, if you're doing in-person events, you're doing boots on the ground fundraising, the online fundraising piece is not a instead of, right? It's and fundraising
right. It's not an or. Absolutely.
Right. Exactly. You want to do it in conjunction with, not instead of. And that's a huge thing that I would say.
You said something to me the other day, and it was just, it struck me, but it's like, you're like, you have to have this kind of opportunity for your supporters, your partners, donors, whatever moniker you want to use to describe these people, members in your case, with your previous position. There are people that unequivocally are not going to come to your live event.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you said it. Flat out, they're great people. They would bleed for the cause. They love what you do. They love your organization. They are not going to put on a tuxedo if it's a black tie event. They are not going to go spend, get a sitter, spend 4 hours of their night at your event. No way, no how. That's not what they do. Or they don't want to drive an hour to go do it because they live out in the mountains or what have you. And that's why, it's imperative that you have these options for folks.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where COVID, as bad as it was kind of a blessing, because it showed us in the nonprofit space how we can engage those people that are never going to come to an event. And you have those two separate people. You have your event people, and you have the people that you said I don't care if the event is within walking distance. They're not going to come.
And they're both sets are lovely people.
Yeah, they're both great people, and they both are just as passionate about your cause. But the point is, if you're only doing online or if you're only doing in-person events, you're not going to engage. They might be a member, they might donate, they might do things whether they're coming to an event or not. But how can you engage with them, and how can you get them to participate in an online auction? How can you get them to participate in a raffle? You can do all that with people in an event whenever you're sitting, you're talking to them and shaking hands. But the online fundraising piece affords all of us the opportunity to engage with the people the way they want to be engaged with, right? Where you're not trying to force people in a room, but you're coming to them, Jason, as you would say, you're meeting them where they're at, where, okay, fine, you don't want to come to an event. That's great. We understand. For those of us that don't want to be in an event, here's another alternative method for you to engage, support the cause. And by the way, you can win or purchase really great stuff.
I would also further that and say it's important that you have that piece in place for the folks that unequivocally won't come to your event so they don't feel ostracized.
Right.
So they don't
Right.
feel less than for not being, I didn't come to your event, so I'm not as important as the folks that did. That's actually an interesting
Absolutely.
delineation there as well. Yeah.
And you're going to
Yeah.
hit new people. So,
So
you
no
know,
question.
like we talked about, where just by fundraising online, you're going to hit
Mhm.
people you would have never touched by just doing in-person events.
Well, the shareability, of course, is such a
Mhm.
such a
Right.
huge piece. And yeah, I mean, obviously, we don't need to get into like human behavior and whatnot. But what I'm
Right.
into, a lot of my friends are into. So why
Yeah.
wouldn't we? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, really
Hey,
cool.
I'm going to change gears just a little bit because I think we've been talking about social media, reaching out, doing all that. And the next one I think is one that, we've talked about where nonprofits really struggle, and that's email.
Mm-hmm.
Give us some of the rules for the road that you see for email that need to be used, thoughtful, maybe some things that, surprised you to learn doing that. And then where because I think everybody's email is always too long. I always think
Right.
if I were to look at
Less
my
is more.
laptop right in front of me right now and pull everything I'm getting from nonprofits, it's like a 23 page, it feels like it's a 23-page booklet for me. And talk to us about that, Tim, because you've done a lot of
Yeah,
this kind of stuff. So
for sure. And email is, like you said, so email is, I mean, I don't even want to know how many junk emails I get, how many emails I get per day.
Right.
And it's like, okay, you're just inundated with it. So whenever you send an email, again, it all comes down to, you want to be very targeted. The amount of people, that are going to open something that they don't recognize, the amount of people that are going to open something that doesn't have something that interests them right on the subject line is pretty high. So you have to hit with email, you have to be targeted, but you also have to give them something they want right away. So again, it comes down to that attention span piece where you don't want to, and like you said, you don't want to send an essay, you don't want to send a book. You people just aren't going to read it. So you want to give them the information exactly how you want to deliver it, and you want to tell them exactly what you're doing in a subject line that gets them to click, right? Then they open the email, and then then it's the marketing is big. You want to make sure that you're not saying too much. If you can add videos, if you can add images, if you can add those things that spur interest and engagement, that's great. And then from my experience, you want that email to go somewhere, right? You want there to be an actionable piece of that
Yeah.
email, where just sending information is great, and you can do that if it's just an informational email. But if you want them to do something, make sure that you're providing that thing for them to do. So you're leading them to a landing page, you're leading them to a video, you're leading them to, more information on a raffle. So you want to keep it short and to the point, engaging, and something actionable, because that's what is going to really get the audience and the engagement you want. Where if you don't have something actually, and also don't just put a link in there, right? Make it a button that they can click here to go wherever you want to send them. So you have to give them something to do and have to capture their interest very quickly. Again, because we're just so inundated every day with emails, your email has to stand out. And whether if it's a raffle, if it's a drawing, something like that, put in the highlights in a catchy subject line that's going to tell them what they want to hear from the get-go, or else they're never going to open it.
That's
So it comes down again, and then consistency. If all this stuff comes down to consistency, where if you can be consistent with information that they're enjoying, and it might take 10 emails to get somebody to open yours, right? But if you're consistent in what you're sharing, and what you're offering, and then over time, you're going to get those folks to engage.
Love it.
okay.
Love
I
it.
had a really great conversation earlier this week with my publisher. Oh yeah, for the forthcoming book, Better Nonprofit Fundraising, due out this spring. Shameless plug.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
so we were talking about that, and something
All
she said,
right.
she goes, "You've got to remember that people, because we were just talking about the publicity and things like that we're going to do for the book. But she said, you got to remember, people like to consume things in three ways. They like to listen to it, they like to see a video, or they like to read. She goes, but not everyone wants to do all three. So
Yeah,
like,
good call.
I'm a reader. I would rather read something than watch a video or listen to it. That's just my preference. I know that's not the case with everybody. Some people would much rather listen to it, or they'd much rather watch the video because it's just the way that they receive that. So you mentioned something about with these emails, and this is a hypothesis. I'm asking the question. Is it better off to put, in your experience, to put all these things in one email, or send three emails with the different ways to the different communication styles? And I mean,
Yeah.
you would space it out. I'm talking about, but just kind of, that consistent effort outreach, whether it's on that, whether it's on, it could even be the same thing in social media, because, you said, well, they got to see something 7 to 10 times before they engage. Is it that same way? Do you see that with email response?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, depending on what it is, how many times somebody has to see something. Now, the benefit with email, especially whenever you're a nonprofit and you have people that are members, you have people, if you have their email list or you have their email, you know that they're obviously interested in
Mm-hmm.
what your cause is, what your mission is. So
Yeah.
you come into an email at an advantage because you already know that the people that are getting your email, in most cases, if it's a dedicated list, are interested in what you're having to either tell them, give them, show them, sell them, whatever. They're already interested. So you start with a leg up. And to your point, I would say you definitely, you don't want to just overload that email with too much stuff. So if you have a video, if you have something that they're reading and that's saying the same thing as the video, it just becomes too much. So I would say, you want to be targeted if you're trying to reach the people that are going to, enjoy that content through a video. Let's say a younger demographic like me. I'm opposite. I like videos. So if you're going for a younger demographic, the video in the email that they can watch, or click here button and be redirected to a landing page with the video, they're going to consume that content that way. So I would agree with you. Yes, that if you're gonna try and reach people, meet them where they're at, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to do that. You don't want to do all three of them in one. You want to be targeted.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
try
that's
and
kind of where I was going, because I know sometimes, you get stuff and it's just like this. They just loaded it. They loaded the whole kitchen sink,
right.
the Christmas tree, the kitchen sink, the dog dish. It's
The
all
golf
in this
cart.
email.
The
And
golf cart was in
I'm
there.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
golly, I just don't even want to go. I just want to get past it. And I think that's the, keeping it simple, simplicity, short, simple, and maybe hitting those different things.
I'm
But
going
I
to
think
ask you
it's,
that. Go
but I
ahead.
do
No, go
think
ahead.
this is important, because I
Yeah.
think, the point about hitting all three of the being, because if it's a video, I'm probably not going to watch it. I'm just not.
Right.
I just don't. In fact, I'm the guy that scrolls down and to look for the transcript of whatever, so I can read it,
Oh,
because I
interesting.
can read faster than the video is going to play. It's
Yeah.
just me. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, I just that stuff's real interesting to me about how people receive things,
Yeah.
or they want to,
Agreed.
making sure that
Well,
we're doing it.
and over time, you can test your demographic within your
Mhm.
email list. So again, you
Yeah.
kind of start as a nonprofit. We start with a leg up because you know that the people who are receiving your email in most cases are already interested, and
Mhm.
you can test this over time of what's our engagement if we are sending a video, what's our engagement if we're sending text, what's our engagement if we're just giving them a title that says learn more and then there's a click here button. What
Mhm.
works best for your folks from engagement, from click, from all these different measurables, and test different things. And that's a big thing that
Yeah.
I've learned throughout my career is, don't be afraid. One, don't be afraid to try new stuff and off the wall things that, you
Yeah.
think about. And two, don't be discouraged whenever whatever you try doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about online is it's very efficient. It's not expensive. You can do it really quickly. So doing different things, it affords you the opportunity that we don't get in an in-person event, that you don't
Yeah.
get a lot of different ways, because you can be so nimble in testing things and trying new things to find out what works with your audience. I think that's huge where, you know, if you're doing direct mail, if you're doing an in-person event, whatever these, if you're doing boots on the ground, selling raffle tickets in person, takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. And once you go forth and dedicate yourself to a plan, it's harder to pivot. Whereas online, you can be so agile in what you're doing. You can do one thing one week, and midweek you can change it and do a different thing. Like you can just be so nimble in your fundraising, which I think is one of the biggest benefits.
You've mentioned test multiple times, and then you just said try some off the wall stuff. And what I hear you saying is be creative.
Right.
You know, it's like you're not going to tick anybody off, long story
Right.
short, right? Like, I mean, if they're in your list or they're a follower or a supporter, you've earned the right to be creative, right? I mean, it's kind of like we have the agency to do those things. And what's interesting, not to sound like Gary Vee or anything, like I'm some, you know, marketing expert or whatever, but it's the audience is rewarding the good creative now,
Right.
right? You know,
Yeah, and I would say, you know, just as not only be creative, but also be professional. You know, just like, okay, so if you think about it in the mail, you get, you know, a piece of 8x11 printer paper folded up that has an offer in it, or you get a heavyweight, glossy, really you're going to be more apt to open and read that high quality piece of stationery, right? Online's the same way.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I've seen that will hinder an online fundraising, you know, experience is you see some crazy stuff out there. You see some people that create a Word document and post it and then say, hey, this. You see people, and I've seen this, literally take a picture of a poster and post the picture of the poster as their social media advertisement.
Right.
So some standard practices, kind of the do's and don'ts, right, of online fundraising is be professional, put out high quality things, whether it be email, online auctions, or social media. Make sure it's high quality, because it's the same thing that the different traits for us all being human are still going to be the same. You're going to, if you get a piece of mail that really feels high quality and it feels nice, you're going to read it, open it.
Right.
Same kind of thing on social media. It's a little bit different, but the concept still applies. So be creative, but also make sure that your creative is professional.
I love that. I love that.
That's good.
One of the, go. Do you
But
have
that
anything,
doesn't necessarily, I want to say, you know, that doesn't mean you've got to go out and hire some company, some PR company,
not right away.
or whatever, advertising company to do all this.
Yeah.
Just be thoughtful about it. There's so many free tools out there, or so many very low cost tools that you can use. A lot of them are embedded in the social media itself. You know, you just,
well, they want you to use
there.
they want you to use their
tools.
platform, so they give you the information, right?
And there's so many different tools. I mean, think about, you know, if you're a Mac user, and Pages, like Pages has countless templates. There's so many different ways out there to get a template for a flyer, to get a template for a poster.
Yeah.
Start off with a template and build that, so that you're making sure that you're putting professional advertising and professional, you know, whatever it may be, it's professional to your audience. And because again, the first impressions, right? If you're trying to reach new people, or you're hoping to reach new people with whatever you're doing on social, email, you never know who this thing is going to get shared with. You never know who's going to see it. You want to create that quality first impression, just as we would meeting somebody for the first time and shaking their hand. It's different, but it's still the same.
I love that. I love that. I think it's just a good sound reminder. I mean, you're putting your name on it. You're putting your brand on it, right?
Yeah.
Something that stuck with me that we talked about probably 6 weeks ago that I still can't shake from my mind, that I still want to articulate better for organizations that aren't running a membership type shop, so to speak, or outcome, is just the fact that even if you're not a membership-based nonprofit, you're running a small shop, whatever, the opportunity with these online functions and efforts and consistency and professionalism and creativity and all these things that we're touching on, how there is a unique opportunity through shareability, by, you know, hopefully virality as well, right? But how there's a unique opportunity.
Is that a word now?
It is. Yeah.
It is today.
Well, no. A gentleman that started a software company used it, so I'm just piggybacking on.
Oh, that's cool. I just
so
did.
he
I was
said
like,
it,
wow, I've not heard that word. That's pretty.
Virality is a word.
I like
Absolutely.
Virality. I like it.
Strategery was the first. Yeah. That's next week. That's next week. We'll have Will Ferrell on next week for that one. But
Yeah.
no, all seriousness though, the opportunity through these, once again, these methods that we've been uncovering for the last 45 minutes to create a community. And I'm not trying to like say this is like all AI stuff and this and that, but digitally, like you can create a digital community with these strong efforts over time
Yep.
where people are like, yeah, I gave, and then they shared, and then it's almost like stealing like the peer-to-peer, piece of how easy it is to point it at any direction. But if you're running your organization, this is a distinct opportunity that you have to create a community digitally that can
Absolutely.
also bleed into an in-person event and
Well, yeah,
volunteer time. Yeah,
you
I
kind of
mean,
reverse engineer it, right?
yeah,
A lot of these start off as in-person events or in person. That's the primary fundraiser.
yeah,
I think now you're seeing, in recent times, you're seeing that almost reversed, where some nonprofits, they're starting, like you said, building a community online, and then
yeah,
maybe 3 years down the road, okay, now we're going to have a gala, now we're going to have an event, an in-person event, or we're going to
yeah,
have, whatever it may be, but it all started online.
yeah.
And I think that's fairly new, where traditionally it always started as a boots on the ground, in person, let's hold an event, and then that bled over online. I think
Yeah.
you are seeing a lot of that reverse now.
Well, we didn't just invent the term online community.
For
How many
sure.
times have you heard
Yeah.
that used, right? I mean, it's
No.
like this is real, whether it's, we're all doing the same exercises and sharing with each other, or we're all raising money for the same cause. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's so
absolutely. It's
I
huge.
don't think I don't think it's beyond people to create their own online community with these efforts, through these efforts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Okay. Well, listen, we've got just a few minutes left. Any questions?
Questions.
Hit him up with us. Hit us up. We've got the guy right here. He can answer them.
Let me see if I make sure
so
I
we
got
would love to hear. And then we're gonna give something away.
I think we hit all of our questions that I had.
I think so. This is really good stuff. Oh,
Yeah,
I got one
I
little.
love this
I just got one
conversation.
little parting thing. You know, somebody said I was listening to somebody talking about this, and maybe it was Vaynerchuk or somebody like this.
Mhm.
And it kind of ties in. They're like, well, what do I talk about? We'll talk about what you want to talk, like social media posts.
Sure.
We'll just talk
What are
about
you
what you
passionate
do.
about? Like, what do you
No,
know, and what are you
and his,
passionate about? Are
yeah,
the
and his
yeah,
point was, people get caught up and they get this lock. Well, I've got to make a perfect post. No, you don't,
nope,
because what you have to
Right.
do is just post. It's just
yeah,
content.
yeah. The
Just
algos
putting
are not
stuff out
rewarding that.
there. If it's going to be around an event, you could reach so many people by doing things around your gala,
Mm.
showing pictures, using that after the
Sizzle
fact to
reel.
fundraise.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, there's so many opportunities there. And I think we let a lot of those go because we kind of moved on and it's not coming up. So why would I post about the gala, other than a couple of thank yous? But this is a really good opportunity to expand your brand, to let people know that you exist, to reach out to the people that want to be a part. Maybe they
yeah,
are a part of your organization,
yeah,
but like Tim said, they didn't go to the gala. They're not going to go to the gala.
yeah.
Right.
But they
Well,
got
and
a few
also,
dollars in their pocket that they'd like to help you with.
yeah, and don't be afraid to fundraise online in conjunction with with an in-person event. I think that's
They
a
don't
big,
They should
compete
go
with
hand
each
in
other, do
hand.
they?
Yeah,
right. They don't compete, because if you have an in-person gala next week, well, launch a online auction this week and
yes,
run it until the gala, because then you're attaching it to what you're doing online or in person, and you're going to
yes.
grab those people that are coming in person. But then
Yeah.
it gives the people that aren't going to come, maybe they have a wedding that weekend, maybe they would
Yeah,
love
or they may be on vacation.
it,
Yeah,
right?
but it's happening now. That's the
Yes,
point, right?
give
And that
them a
will that yeah,
way to support you, even if they
yeah,
can't come to the event, but
yeah,
tie it to the in-person event. So you can
yep,
do an online auction leading up to the event and then a raffle after the event. You can also use social media, for pre-event raffles, pre-event sales. Utilize these things to, they're online and they're separate, but they can also help your in person, and do them both in the same time. It's just like in direct mail. You want to direct mail and you want to hit them with online. Doing the same actually helps both. Where,
yes,
if you're doing a direct mail campaign and you're sending 100,000 pieces of mail, well, tying that into an email that says the same exact thing but in a different way will actually help your male
Oh,
participants.
I gotta get to that. That's on my desk. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's a lot there.
I love that. Absolutely. No question.
Okay. Well, T-Rev, I'm gonna share my screen,
Okay. What are we doing, man?
and
What's going on?
we are gonna give something away, and the person we're gonna give it away to is Jerry Jameson. Jerry
Hey,
Jameson,
Jerry.
come on down. You're gonna
Thanks
get
for
to spin the
coming.
wheel, and the wheel the HGA
The
wheel of
digital
fortune. Here it
wheel.
goes.
The
So
digital
we're gonna
wheel
see
of
what he does
success.
because we like to give away some stuff.
Jerry, tell us where you're at and who you represent and where you're from, if you don't mind, in the chat, if you have a sec.
All
And you
right,
just threw in
$300
$300.
HGA bucks. So you
Super
get to
cool.
use those dollars there for any of HGA's items to help you raise more money. So
Well, there you go. Right on,
congratulations.
Jerry. All right, cool.
Yeah,
Who are
so
you
that's
raising money
awesome.
for? Who you for Janice? They have a foundation or what have you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Fantastic.
That's
Awesome.
awesome. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well,
Love
Jerry,
that.
thank you so much for being here.
Cool.
Thanks everybody
Cool.
else for being here. Thanks a lot, Tim.
Tim, that was cool, man. Let's
Yeah, it's good stuff.
love that. Build your
Good
online
stuff.
community. I love that. Yeah, we didn't make that up, but that's been around for a bit. Good
Yeah.
nudge for everybody. Thanks for taking the time, Tim. Thanks everybody for taking the time to come join us. Really, really appreciate it. Reach out to us if you're watching this as a recording. Give us a question. It'll get to Tim. You can email Tim if you have any questions. Putting your business in the street, Tim. Tim at HGAfundraising.com. Reach out to Tim if you have any questions about online fundraising, what have you. Yeah, we're happy to help however we can. So appreciate everybody for coming.
All right, we'll see you later. See you next
All right,
week.
later. Bye, Tim. See you,
Bye-bye.
Jay. Thanks, brother. Talk to you guys soon.
See ya.